Do you ever feel overwhelmed by the ever-changing world of technology? Tech It Out can help make some sense of it all. Breaking down geek speak into street speak, technology columnist, author, and TV personality Mark Saltzman covers consumer technology each week for every listener. Mark tackles the latest news, reviews, and how-tos to help you understand what's hot, what's not, and why.
Hey everyone, welcome to Tech It Out. This is episode 79. I hope you've been enjoying the show so far in 2019. On that note, in case you missed last week's episode, I was at the 2019 Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, the annual Mecca to Sin City, where tens of thousands of tech journalists like yours truly, as well as retailers and analysts, all cram into various facilities like the Las Vegas Convention Center just to catch a glimpse at tomorrow's technology today. If you missed that show last weekend on Tech It Out on the Radio America Network, it is available as a podcast that you can stream or download or even subscribe to on platforms like iTunes, TuneIn, Blog Talk, and so on. And this week's show continues the discussion from the 2019 CES. We'll catch up with Samsung in a moment to talk about its gorgeous and huge 98-inch TVs in 8K resolution, no less. And we'll, of course, chat about what that means. We'll also talk about its other TVs at the show, like the Wall, the Frame, and smart TVs, now with Apple support. Who saw that coming? Also this hour, we're going to catch up with Pete Nowak. He's a technology journalist and author who looks at CES with a bit more of a critical eye. I'm looking forward to my talk with him later on in the program. All right, let's kick things off with this weekend's Tech It Out. The 2019 Consumer Electronics Show, or CES for short, recently wrapped up in Las Vegas. And this year, out of all the tech categories represented at the show, self-driving cars and wearables, health and fitness tech and robotics, the one that really seemed to have the biggest buzz this year was televisions. And big is the operative word, with giant and gorgeous TVs. Now, one of the highlights for me was Samsung's booth in the central hall of the Las Vegas Convention Center. And to help tell you what you missed, as it's an industry-only show, you have to be in the business to attend, we're joined on the line by Samsung's Scott Cohen. He's a senior manager of product training at the company. Welcome to the show, Scott.
Oh, happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
How was your CES, sir?
Oh, CES, it's my favorite week of the year. Samsung gets to showcase not just new products that are coming in the following year or 2019, but we also get to see some really exciting, forward-thinking, few years out technology. And being at Samsung, I mean, we have to be the center of the show. We have a 25,000 square foot booth that's packed from the moment the show opens to the moment the show closes, packed with great technology, great demos. So really good week for me, and a great week for Samsung.
Yeah, it was a fantastic booth, as always, from robotics, which, of course, is a little bit more forward-thinking, as you suggested, with the Samsung bots, to smart appliances, to home entertainment, which is why we've got you on the line today. Tell us about Samsung's TVs at the show, and that's a pretty broad and open-ended question. So why don't we narrow it down to giant TVs? I was gushing over this 98-inch QLED TV from Samsung. Tell us about it.
Oh, yeah. So the TVs are always a big story with Samsung, always a big story at CES. And, you know, one thing that 2018 told Samsung is our customers want bigger TV screens. They're looking at 75-inch, 82-inch TVs. So there is a drive to go bigger. So Samsung came to CES with a whole new line of TVs that goes from 65-inch all the way up to 98-inch. Which speaks to improving picture quality at a large screen size. And, you know, the reason that we're talking about improved picture quality at this screen size is that these are 8K TVs, and 8K speaks directly to the resolution of the TV. And what Samsung did is, you know, we've had 4K TVs for a while. We're going to 8K, which is what we're going to say is 4 times the resolution. And to kind of, you know, bring it home for someone that may not be so techie, all of the flat screen TVs we watch right now are made up of little dots on the screen called pixels. And when all the dots work together, it creates the picture. So, you know, with that as the basis of how picture is created, increasing the number of dots should increase both picture quality, picture clarity, and the overall experience. So what Samsung did is in our 4K lineup, we have about 8 million dots or 8 million pixels. In our 8K lineup, we're talking about 33 million pixels, so 4 times the resolution. So what the customers are going to be able to do is sit much closer to these TVs without seeing any of those pixels or dots, which is going to give you more detail and a more lifelike image.
So even if you could buy a 100-inch TV today or 98-inch TV, if it was in HD quality or even 4K, which is top of the line today, you may still see some imperfections when you're dealing with a TV that size, like twice the size of many TVs today. So when you bump up the resolution, the number of dots or pixels on top of delivering a bigger panel, you really have that kind of clarity that you want. I mean, even nose to glass, it's phenomenal. It's so lifelike. I often say that going from 4K to 8K is like slipping on a pair of prescription glasses for the first time. I mean, everything just becomes super crisp and ultra lifelike that you really feel like you're there with what you're watching. I saw a lot of nature scenery and things like that at the Samsung booth, and it was like I was really there. It's crazy. So 98-inch TVs with 8K resolution. And tell us a little bit about the QLED portion here, Scott. That 98-inch TV was QLED technology. What is that exactly?
So, when we're talking about QLED with Samsung, we are talking about a technology called quantum dot. And the reason Samsung has made these advancements in quantum dot and applied them to our TV has to do with color accuracy and color brightness. So when you think of a Samsung QLED, first and foremost, that's Samsung's flagship line of TVs. That's the best TVs we make. It's based on quantum dot because using the technology of quantum dot, we can get the full color spectrum accurate in any brightness condition. And when I say any brightness condition, many times, if you thought of an ideal place to watch TV, it would be a man cave, a movie theater, a darkened room, a room where you have full control of the lighting. But the reality is our customers put their TVs in the room with skylights, doors to the backyard. They like to watch football at noon. They like to watch movies in the evening with the lights on. And what Samsung QLED does is it makes it one of the most versatile TVs out there because the room lighting or the condition of the lights in the room won't affect our panels or our QLED panels because they do have that brightness to compete. Of course, they can be toned down for movie theaters. So QLED is the technology we really believe is out there to make the best TV. Now, what's really great about QLED, which is a little different from some of the other leading technologies, is that QLED is an inorganic matter, which means it is free from burn-in or image retention. And in fact, the QLED line of TVs from Samsung comes with the Q guarantee, which guarantees the panel for life against image retention and burn-in.
All right, so burn-in or image retention is where you've got that same image on the screen for a long period of time, such as a border around like a sports score or something like that in a football game. And even when you turn the TV off or go to another picture, you might still see like some residue of that there. Is that a way to explain it?
Yeah, image retention happens when you leave the same static images up on screen for long periods of time.
Right.
This could be if you're mainly watching something with a news ticker across the bottom,
right,
or something that has a logo like video games. A lot of video games have heads-up displays or scores or other information that stays on the screen for long periods of time. And Samsung, that's not a problem for Samsung, so you can leave those images up. And in fact, Samsung partnered with Xbox in 2018, and we've come up with this ingenious feature called game mode or auto game mode, which makes our TVs really some of the best for gaming, because what auto game mode does is first, it automatically recognizes when you switch from TV, Netflix, or to video gaming. And when the video game is sensed by the TV has a special mode that gives us the lowest lag time. And that's what all gamers care about, is that low lag time. And that'll improve your gaming. So with auto game mode, you can always be guaranteed you have the low lag time. On a QLED, you can be guaranteed against image retention. So, if you are a gamer and you're playing one of those games that has static images, a QLED would be the perfect choice for you.
QLED TVs, this is Samsung's take on quantum dot technology, delivering a broader color spectrum, beautiful, vivid, vibrant colors, as well as great brightness and contrast. And the benefit of an inorganic material opposed to OLED is that there's no burn-in or image retention. Let's now pivot and talk, Scott, about the wall. This was one of the spectacles at the Samsung booth. booth that utilizes something called micro LED panels. Tell us about the wall.
The wall is one of, if not the most exciting product coming out of Samsung right now, definitely in the TV industry portion of our business, because first off, micro LED is the first new technology for home TV that we've seen in about 10 years. So what micro LED does, it takes the best of all the different technologies we've seen. We have the size of projection TVs. We can go up to we showed 219-inch at CES. We have the brightness of our QLEDs and LED-based technology. The micro LED is self-emissive. There's no backlighting. So when you want black, you can get those deep, inky blacks. There's no off-axis viewing with QLED. So really, this is the pinnacle of TV technology coming together. And Samsung showed this in various sizes. So we've shown 146-inch at the 2018 Consumer Electronics Show. We bumped it up to 219-inch at the CES 2019. But besides having the best picture quality out there for TV, the most interesting thing about micro LED is its vision towards the future.
Before we continue our chat with Scott Cohen, a thank you to my sponsor. Tech It Out is powered by ASUS, creating technology for today and tomorrow's smart life. Visit asus.com/US/radio for more info. That's asus.com/US/radio. We'll be right back with more Tech It Out. Stay with us.
Listen to Tech It Out whenever you want. Find the Tech It Out podcast at iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts.
We're chatting with Scott Cohen, Senior Manager of Product Training at Samsung America. Now, before the break, Scott, we were talking about Samsung's The Wall, which is 219 inches at the show. Everyone was gawking, and it was made up of smaller micro LED panels. Is that right?
Micro LED TVs are 219 or 146 are actually built of smaller TVs that kind of click together to make bigger TVs. And when you put two of these smaller TVs together, you can't see the seam where they meet up. So by building TV, by block or small TV by small TV, even if you had a wall for a 219-inch TV, you probably don't have a doorway big enough for a 219-inch. So being able to assemble on site is going to be important. However, the real importance is more forward thinking, which is, in the future, you can design the TV screen that fits your room rather than being conformed to the models and sizes that are made available by the TV manufacturers. So, if we had these micro LED tiles, as we call them, and they were 12-inch by 12-inch, and you want to build a 3-foot by 6-foot TV, you just have to get 3 tiles up, 6 tiles across, and you can start building the TV that fits your space.
Awesome. Yeah. So to be clear, that 219-inch The Wall, this television at CES at the Samsung booth, was not one piece of glass. It's made up of smaller TVs using micro LED technology that you can place adjacent to one another to create one big picture. And that modularity is what's cool. So aside from the picture quality with those deep blacks, that high contrast ratio that we want, these also let you expand the TV experience based on your budget and your room size. So that's very cool. Is this something that we're going to see available to consumers in 2019?
The modular aspect is something that'll be coming in the future. No real date has been set, but what Samsung is thinking is really outside the box on what traditional TV is. And one of the cool things that Samsung has learned over the last few years is that as the customers bought larger and larger TVs, 75 and 82-inch, the problem of a big black rectangle in the room when the TV is not in use is starting to become a big deal. In 2017, Samsung launched the Frame. It's a TV available in 43 up to 65-inch. And when you're not using the TV, it goes into art mode and displays art. Now, what's cool about it is you can choose the art from our art store. You can upload your own art. You get to choose the matting around the art. And with the Frame TV, you can even select your frame color, the bezel, from white to black to light wood to dark wood. And what we found is customers really like this product because when they're not watching TV or using it for TV, it blends right into their decor. This became so popular and such a needed thing that Samsung came up with a brand new idea in 2018 called ambient mode, which is only found on Samsung QLED. What ambient mode does is, for one, we have a feature called wall generation. So if you hang your TV on a brick wall, the TV can actually continue the brick pattern from the wall and make the TV look transparent. And then once you've done that, you can overlay news or art or clocks or various things. And what it showed us is that customers, when they buy a TV, yes, they're thinking about watching blockbuster movies, but they're also thinking of how they can continue to use that technology when they're not watching TV at all. And as we continue to grow that idea, the idea of modular TV brings up places you would put a screen where maybe TV isn't the primary concern. So, for example, maybe you have a bar area in your home. It's 8 foot wide. You want to have a screen behind the bar that's 2 feet high, 8 feet wide. You want sharks swimming back and forth. Micro LED is the type of technology that will allow you to customize a screen size of 8 feet by 2 feet. You can also make perfect squares with this. Maybe you live in an apartment. There weren't as many windows as you wanted. Get 4 of these tiles, download some, outside content, sunrises, sunsets, and you can add a window to anywhere. Awesome. So what we're looking to do is bring video technology into the home, not just for watching TV, but enhancing the decor in your lifestyle.
Okay, amazing. So micro LED TVs, the wall, there's ambient mode and the frame. And now let's wrap up and talk about smart TVs. Now, were my eyes deceiving me at CES, or did I really see an Apple iTunes logo on a Samsung smart TV at the show?
Yeah, your eyes were not deceiving you. In fact, really good news. Samsung, #1 TV manufacturer. We got more TVs out there in the customers' homes, and Apple, wants to get their iTunes app accessible by a lot of their customers, and we know a lot of our customers have Apple, so this is really a match made in heaven. So the things that are going to come to Samsung for our Apple phone users is AirPlay too, so that you'll be able to screen mirror or cast from your Apple iPhone up to the TV. However, unique to Samsung is iTunes. So iTunes will be there, so you will be able to get your content from your iTunes app right off your Samsung TV with your Samsung remote. In fact, Samsung has gone a step further. We have our digital assistant on board, Bixby, and Bixby will actually be able to search within iTunes. So if you're looking for your favorite movie with your favorite actor, we'll be able to search numerous apps, including iTunes. So this is really going to bring Apple and iTunes into Samsung's, smart TV platform in a very big way. With just about all the features most of our other apps have. So this is really big news is, we continue to see customers leaning away from the traditional cable model and either cord cutting or splitting their time between traditional cable satellite with streaming sites like, Hulu, Netflix, or even iTunes.
Right. And just to be clear, the iTunes support on Samsung smart TVs is strictly for movies and TV shows, correct?
At this time, yeah.
All right, when we return, we're going to wrap up with Samsung on Tech It Out. We've been chatting about 8K TVs as big as 98 inches, micro LED, the wall, up to 219 inches, smart TVs, and more. So stick with us. You're listening to Tech It Out.
Want to follow Mark? Google him. Mark with a C and Saltzman with a Z. Breaking down geek speak into street speak. This is Tech It Out. Tech It Out with technology columnist, author, and TV personality Mark Saltzman.
Welcome back to Tech It Out. We're almost out of time with Scott Cohen from Samsung, who's walking us through the TV highlights from the Consumer Electronics Show last week. Now, before the break, Scott, we talked about smart TVs and how they'll support Apple iTunes and Apple's AirPlay 2 to wirelessly play content from iPhones and iPads.
And the other big news outside of Apple that we announced is that we're going to be also working with Google Home and Alexa ecosystem. So for customers in 2019 that may already have an investment in either Amazon or Google's platform in the home, they can be happy to know Samsung TVs will work just fine. They'll be able to power them up, change the volume, change the channel, open apps.
Awesome.
So it'll be a really great experience for them. However, Samsung does include Bixby within our TVs as our digital assistant that can also assist. So really giving our customers the ability to choose which platform they want the TV to fit in with best.
Finally, Scott, Super Bowl's around the corner. If you're listening right now and you're in the market for a new TV, what would you recommend? Obviously, something that can handle fast motion very smoothly.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend one of the QLED TVs, specifically the Q8 and Q9, which are available right now. The Q8 goes up to 82-inch. You want something big. You want to feel like you're at the game. These TVs from Samsung give you the best contrast, but anything in the QLED lineup will give you that bright and accurate colors. So if your favorite team is playing in the big game, you want to make sure those uniforms look right under any type of sun condition. So Samsung QLED is what's going to do it for you. But, I recommend it to everyone that's looking for a new TV, especially when you get up to these bigger sizes. Save some budget for a matching sound bar. Samsung makes some excellent home theaters quality sound bars that you're really going to want to bring the sound of the big game in with the visuals of the big game.
All right, all great advice. Scott, is there a website you could leave us with to learn more about your TV lineup?
Yeah, just visit Samsung.com. You can actually do pre-order on the new 8K TVs that were shown last week at CES. But you can find out all the information on all the current lineup, sizes, features, learn a little bit more about ambient mode and QLED.
When are the 8K TVs going to be available?
They'll be available in the first half. So within the next few months, you'll start to see those in the near you.
Amazing. Scott Cohen, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. I hope you recovered from the show.
I'm all recovered. Thank you, and thanks for having me.
All right, it's now time to move on to our next guest. While many tech journalists gush about every single new gadget that debuts, and they tend to praise all the biggest companies, what I love about this next guest, Peter Nowak, is that not only is he a great journalist and author, but he doesn't wear rose-colored glasses when it comes to new technology. He has a critical eye when it comes to these companies and products and isn't afraid to voice his often cynical opinions on social media or in his articles and blog posts. And so for a look at this year's Consumer Electronics Show from a bit of a different perspective, please help me welcome Pete Nowak to the program. Thanks for your time, Pete.
Yeah, my pleasure, Mark.
Good to see you, albeit briefly, at CES last week in Las Vegas.
Yeah, it's always such a mad rush there that there's seems to hardly be any time to socialize and chill out, so to speak.
I think I saw you for 60 seconds in the media lounge, and that was about it. Before we talk about CES, please tell us a bit about your work, and please also share the next book that you're working on as well.
Yeah, sure. You think you refer to me as cynical. I don't know if I'm cynical. Sarcastic is probably the better.
That's true.
Better way to describe me. I've been covering technology for a good time now. Probably I don't know if I've been doing it as long as you, but a good number of years. The book I'm working on right now, it's not necessarily actually technology. It's a bit of a divergence into the world of real-life superheroes. These are men and women who basically dress up in costumes and go out and fight crime and help homeless people. So it's a really interesting phenomenon that's going on, again, outside of technology. But I go to CES every year. I think this was my 12th or 13th year. I can't remember. So even though I do look at some of this stuff skeptically, I do love going to CES. I generally, most years I do see something that really, if it doesn't impress me, it actually, sometimes I've had my mind blown. So that's pretty cool.
Wow, I'm surprised to hear that. So yes, before we chat about what you weren't impressed with at CES, Pete, what did you like from the big tech convention that just wrapped up?
There's a couple of things that were pretty interesting. I think everybody was pretty impressed with LG's rollable TV. This is the TV that can basically roll up into a roll and be stashed away. I think it's a little bit the question about how this is actually going to be useful is not, I don't know if that's been answered just yet. It's still a bit of a mystery as to what you're going to want this for. And also, I imagine that the cost on this thing is going to be pretty astronomical to start with. So that was kind of neat. I think a lot of people like that.
And so this was it looks like a small piece of furniture, and then you use your voice, or you press a button to turn on the TV, and then it actually rolls out like upwards, and it ascends to, I think, a full 65 inches. That's the idea behind this rollable TV. It's not something that you would roll up and put under your arm like a yoga mat and walk out of the house, right? Just to clarify.
Yeah, at least not to start with. No, at least not to start with. In that way, it's a little bit similar to like to a projector screen. Mm-hmm. So, it's something that you can kind of get out of the way. But, I think for most people, TVs are part of the furniture, and almost, at least to some people, TVs can also be kind of artwork in your living room, especially if you've got one of those TVs that can display really nice images and so on. So there was that. The other thing I'm really interested in these days, I'm kind of fascinated by this idea of air taxis. So I was pretty taken with the Bell helicopter. I think the company's now actually just going by Bell. They were showing off this thing called the Ultra, which is this giant looks like a giant-sized drone. Looks a little bit like something out of a Halo video game. It's basically a giant helicopter with 6 rotors, and it's a 5-seater. They haven't. It's only a prototype at this point, so they haven't flown it yet. But they're looking at within the next few years of making something like this available, where it would sort of be flying like bus routes within cities. So you could take it. A family could theoretically take this thing across town instead of sitting in bumper-to-bumper traffic for several hours. It's an interesting idea. I think a lot of people, not just me, are skeptical about this concept of air taxis, but it's interesting to see how this is going to develop anyway.
Yeah, it was like a bit of science fiction at this show last week. I remember in the North Hall, where a lot of the automotive tech is, Bell did have their big booth there. I think it's called the Bell Nexus, and it was a prototype, as you mentioned, so it was full scale, but it was not flying over Vegas or anything like that. But yeah, they said that they've inked a partnership with Uber, and apparently the ride-sharing company is looking to deploy these as early as the mid-2020s, which would be pretty exciting, barring any legislative hurdles and other issues. We'll be right back shortly to continue our chat with Peter Nowak on Tech It Out. Stay with us.
Breaking down geek speak into street speak. Tech It Out, hosted by Mark Saltzman.
Welcome back to Tech It Out on the Radio America Network. Thank you to ASUS, the title sponsor on Tech It Out, creating technology for today and tomorrow's smart life, including its line of award-winning laptops, desktops, monitors, smartphones, tablets, smartwatches, and much more. For those in search of incredible, visit asus.com/US/radio for more info. That's asus.com/US/radio. We're chatting with Peter Nowak. He is a freelance journalist and author. He also does a lot of radio work. And what is the name of your next book, by the way, and when is it coming out before we move on and continue chatting about CES?
Yeah, the title that's going with for now is The Hero Gotham Needs. Scheduled publication is spring 2020.
Oh, awesome. Great. Okay. Going back to CES, so, a lot of us tech writers walk around the show just wide-eyed, and we get super excited and we blog about it or write articles about it. As I mentioned, you're more of a type of a journalist that has a bit more of a discerning eye, I would say, and I'm being polite. You often tear apart these products and companies on social media. You're not afraid to do so. So what do you think was maybe overhyped at CES? Something that you just thought was ridiculous that all of us thought was really cool, and you would question that?
Well, there was definitely a lot of talk about 5G or the fifth generation wireless. So this is, of course, coming after 4G. There was a lot of booths talking up 5G. There's also been some controversy about how some of the U.S. carriers have been adding 5G to their phones. Basically you get a little display on your smartphone screen that says you're actually connected to a 5G network. That's not entirely true. 5G is not yet here. It kind of goes back to a similar situation with 4G. Some of the American carriers were basically promoting 4G when the standards hadn't even really been set. Mm-hmm. And so I think we're seeing a little bit of the same here with 5G. We're not going to really see 5G arriving until I think the estimates are looking more like 2020. So that was one of the things that was a little bit overblown, I think. And the other thing that was a little bit overblown, I think, was also 8K television. I think when we switched to 4K from full HD, there was a lot of debate out there as to whether the average person can actually see the difference. I think generally the consensus is that it was not as much of a step up as HD was from standard definition. So there was that. But 8K, I think a lot of people are also horrified to learn that 8K televisions are on the way, because a lot of people still haven't even got 4K TVs. I know I don't. So those are just a couple of the things that I thought, this is really a lot. This is considerably futuristic technology. It's not really here just yet. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how much of it we're going to see in the near term.
But in the show's defense, that is really what CES is all about, is a glimpse into the future of technology. And the future, quote unquote, could be a couple of months away, or it could be a few years away, or in many cases, it's what we call vaporware. It never comes out, these products. But 8K, a little overhyped, but admittedly, even on this show this hour, I talked with a company about 8K. I thought that the size of the TVs were certainly impressive, nearing 100 inches, and the 8K source content. But if and when we buy these in a few months and put them in our home, there is going to be very little to none of the 8K content that we saw at the show. So in the meantime, these TV manufacturers are touting that you can upconvert or upscale 4K content from, say, Netflix to near 8K quality. So delivering all those, tens of millions of pixels for a better looking picture. But when you couple it with the big size, it really does make a difference. But you're still going, I don't know. Yeah, it's just too early and there's not any content, I guess.
Yeah, that's debatable. That's not to say that 8K doesn't have value as technology. It definitely does. If you talk to, I think it actually has a lot more value on the production side. So if you talk to people who are creating video professionally, they talk that a lot of them are actually already using 8K cameras, and the benefit there is you can shoot in 8K, and you're basically creating an image with a lot more information in it. Mm-hmm. So you can do more with that information. You can discard a lot of information from that image, and you're left with a 4K image. So what that means specifically is the ability to do digital zoom is going to improve dramatically once you start moving to 8K, and also you can do really professional level stuff without going through professional level costs. So I was talking to one guy who was shooting a documentary in 4K and, in 8K, and he was saying you can do pan shots now without having to set up those rails for your cameras to go along and so on. You can just basically shoot in 8K and then crop it out, and you've got your pan effect. Yeah. So I mean, it's not to say that this is a technology that is just vaporware, but it's I think there's going to be value to it. It's just that maybe not necessarily where it's being promoted.
Interesting. We're going to wrap up with Pete Nowak in a couple of minutes from now when I ask him about tech having a tough year and if that had any impact in lack of enthusiasm about covering CES. Has Facebook's foibles and company stock drops and low sales and other issues that have plagued the industry have maybe placed a dark cloud over CES this year. So I'll chat with him after this short break. And before we take a break, I did want to ask you if you had any feedback on Tech It Out, anything that you liked or didn't like in 2018. You have suggestions for 2019, some guests that you'd like me to interview, some topics you'd like me to tackle. Things I can improve. I'm all ears. So you can hit me up on Twitter. I'm at Mark_Saltzman. That's Mark with a C _SALTZMAN. You can also find me on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and other platforms as well. Or you can send me an email, tech@marksaltzman.com, TECH@MARCSALTZMAN. We'll be right back with more Tech It Out.
Follow Mark Saltzman on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. Listen to Tech It Out whenever you want.
We're chatting with technology journalist, broadcaster, and author Pete Nowak about covering the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas last week. So, Pete, one of the things that you mentioned to me over email when we were setting up this interview is that you thought maybe the fact that you weren't as super excited about this year's CES was tied to the tech backlash going on right now. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's the China trade war thing or the Huawei issue or the stocks that are volatile. What is it about? Can you maybe elaborate a little bit about this.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, 2018 was, it's hard to think of another year that was as bad for tech as 2018 was. You had so many revelations of, so much modern technology is about creating data and then using it in interesting ways. And we saw a lot in 2018 about how that can be abused and leaked and so on and so on. A lot of it had to do with Facebook, but, you also had Google and Twitter and all these companies basically having to defend their data use practices. So on that was on the one front. And on the second front, I think this was actually just at the beginning of January where we had the warning from Apple about iPhone sales. They're not going as well as they initially thought they were, and I believe Samsung and LG also issued similar warnings. Mm-hmm. So you've got a slowdown in the smartphone market as well. So you put those two things together, and I think you've got a pretty dark cloud hanging over technology. You've got this privacy issue, the security issue. You've got regulators and governments that are, I think it's pretty safe to assume they're going to be clamping down on a lot of these data practices pretty soon. And on the other hand, you've also got a slowdown in sales. There's evidence that people are not necessarily as quick to snap stuff, at least smartphones, up as they used to be. So you've got a little bit of a slowdown there on the innovation side as well. So, you put those two things together, and it was kind of that's kind of where I was coming from when I was at CES this year. You mentioned my skepticism, so it added an extra dimension to that skepticism. Like when I saw the internet connected toilet, I thought, well, really?
And $7,000, no less.
Yeah. Where are we going with that?
With that in mind, let's end off on a higher note and talk about the quirky side of CES. I know you're always looking for weird little things like that. Aside from that collar toilet that has Alexa support, ridiculous. Anything else you thought was just so funny that you'd like to bring up?
I did see there was, I've got two cats, and I'm a big cat person, so I'm always interested in pet technology. And there was one company there from Italy. I think the product that they were selling was the
Mookie.
I can't remember what
it's called. Mookie.
That's it.
Yeah,
thank
Mookie.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is the pet feeder that uses facial recognition
from
to
Volta.
basically open.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, it basically programs in your cat or your dog's face, and then it will only open and dispense food for that specific pet. Very useful, or theoretically very useful if you have several pets in your house and you have, say, one cat that likes to eat the other guy's food, which I do. I've got questions about how...
if they have special dietary needs as well.
Exactly.
I can see the applications for that as well.
Yeah, so and I can see problems with that as well. But I think that is an interesting use of the technology, and we are actually seeing facial recognition being used more, applied more with pets. There's a number of humane societies around the U.S. that are actually now using facial recognition to find lost pets out there. So that's kind of neat. Cool. So yeah, it's one of those areas that I thought was kind of interesting, and I'd like to see more on.
On a related note, did you see the cat treadmill for $1,800?
I did not see that.
Why not fat shame your feline? I mean, I guess that's the headline. So, all right, Pete Nowak, where can we learn more about your work and follow you and all your work towards your next book as well?
Yeah, sure. I'm on Twitter. It's just Peter Nowak, and I've got a website. It's peternowak.ca. That's about it.
Okay. Thank you so much, Pete. Great to see you again, and I look forward to seeing you more and for a longer period of time at industry events in 2019. All the best.
Indeed. Thanks, Mark.
Well, that pretty much wraps up today's Tech It Out. I hope you enjoyed it. A big thank you to my title sponsor. Tech It Out is brought to you by ASUS, creating technology for today and tomorrow's smart life. ASUS, for those in search of incredible. Visit asus.com/US/radio for more info. That's asus.com/US/radio. If you are listening to this show on terrestrial radio, like your local radio station, and you did want to share it with friends, family, or colleagues, it is available in podcast form. You can find it on iTunes and Blog Talk, TuneIn, and many other podcast platforms. So just search for Tech It Out and maybe my name, Mark, with a C, Saltzman, I hope you enjoyed this week's show, the second and final part of a CES special, and I can't wait to share with you next weekend's guests and topics, so be sure to tune in to that. Have a great rest of your weekend, everyone. Speak to you next time on Tech It Out.